It's interesting that you say this because I went through the previous interview you did with us, and you mentioned that at that point, it was maybe 3 years ago, you were in a very stable place. You had your studio, you were settled in Nashville.
That's right.
So did that wave, did that hit you after that stable place, or was it right at that moment?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it did, it did. I mean, you know, obviously knowing that a family was coming.
Right.
It's kind of like preparing to be hit by the wave, isn't it?
Sure.
You kind of know that there's a tsunami coming, and like lots of things that you thought were under your control would be like kind of like destroyed, and it's scary and exciting and like life changing and all of that stuff, of course, and you know that's going to happen. And you can't prepare for it at the same time because it's completely unknown, even though everyone will tell you how it is in their way. The way every relationship is and the way every person is unique. And so yeah, it's true. That stability was definitely rocked.
Okay.
But in a really welcome way.
Of course.
In a way that I didn't realise that there were some parts in me that were like dormant, you know, that I needed them like shaking to be shaken up.
Can you give me an example of this, of something that's...
Well, just time, you know, time. You get used to time and the flow of time. And also you get, and of course, like having a kid clearly like just annihilates that, right?
Sure.
You just don't have the same amount of time, and you don't think of time in the same way either. You don't think of your life as extending in a certain way. I think you think of mortality in a different way. And that can be dark, actually.
Sure.
It can be more intense, like everything can be a lot more vivid. And sometimes that's like just a really, it's a powerful thing. And I don't know, I guess, the time thing is just more of a boring side effect in a way.
Sure.
The thing that the new love, and the explosion of love and colour in a way is the hugely important thing. And just love for my wife and what she's done and what she goes through all the time, and just like the gratitude for everything, the health of me, the health of everyone.
Right.
And so it's just all these things are new. They're just new.
And all of this then quite naturally seeps through in what you write.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the songs were not written until Julian was born, but of course there's 9 months of pregnancy and all of that, isn't there? There's all of that time. And you know...
What for you was the toughest song to get on paper? Because like you say, it can be dark at sometimes, and you were rocked in a way.
Yeah, toughest song to make. I guess sometimes songs take a long time just to kind of become kind of clear. There's actually a few songs that didn't make it onto the record that really were beautiful songs because I just couldn't find the lyrics. They just didn't come. Me and Lindsay both, we tried, and it just didn't feel natural. I guess even a song like I Live to Make You Smile, that was an interesting song because I think there must be at least 3 or 4 versions of the song that are wildly different. There were the initial versions, and I worked on them a lot actually, but they somehow didn't make it, and like we ended up with another one, you know. So yeah, that one probably was the most intense, just kind of in terms of revisions, and just kind of like, what about this way of doing it? No, what about this way? You know. So yeah. There's quite a few songs actually that took lots of different forms, and those are tricky songs because sometimes I have the urge to destroy them when they've been going on too long. But you know, I always remember like Brian Eno talking about working on U2, and I think sometimes those songs, they took so long, like that he wanted to actually erase the tapes in the middle of the night and just say, "I've lost it, we have to do it again." Because it was just like driving him absolutely crazy. I think you have to be careful that you don't work on something too long, because you can really like be like cold about your decision making, like, oh, forget it, we'll just cut this verse, and you just do really aggressive things.
In this regard then, because you mentioned time and becoming a father kind of eliminates a lot of your time. So did you have to make decisions quicker this time around?
The album did take 3 years to make, so I guess I've taken my time. But that's what I wanted to do, you know. Okay. I felt like I had to be careful to not make another album. I don't know, it's on my own label. There's lots of things that were new. And like, I also felt no urgency to create another album, actually.
Why not? Why not?
Because I'm doing more co-writing, and there are other ways for me to possibly make a living financially and stuff. Right. So it was really about what did I want to do, not how. If it's not just kind of like this is my only way to make a living.
Sure.
There are other ways. So I kind of thought, well, the cool thing about that is I came to the decision if I wanted to make a record, I really wanted to make one that I was really satisfied with on lots of levels. That really represents who I am right now, and like, you know, would be a complete picture, as complete as I can make it. So there was no rush, which was satisfying because I could do all these co-writes and I could have all these songs sitting on my hard drive. And I just waited for the good ones to keep coming back to me, you know. And if they kept sounding good, I'll be like, oh, this one's definitely going to stay with me.
Right.
I should keep working, I should finish this one because I still feel it. And it was cool to allow songs to just wait. I remember watching a documentary about Gerhard Richter, and when he was painting, he would kind of do something like that. He'd paint the initial version of a canvas and leave it for a week, walk away, come back and go, this one, we paint over this one. It's not going to work, this one. Because at the time when you make something, you don't know, actually.
Sure.
I think he's right about that. You need a moment to sort of stew on it and to think, well, is this really a good seed of an idea, or is it maybe not so great? Maybe I could do a better one.
When you revisit these ideas after a period, have they changed, or are they still that initial idea?
Well, you've changed, something's changed.
Sure.
Your perception of it, you can almost become a listener again rather than the creator, and I think you have a small window to do that. If you listen to it too many times, you break the illusion, not the illusion, you break the moment. It's like a bubble or something.
Right.
You have one chance to see it, and if you touch it, it's gone. But that moment is really precious when it's there and it's just held, and you can sort of visualize it and see all of its potential for a split second. And call that moment in art. So yeah, I think it's just a question of experience, maybe.
But you can identify that moment then?
I hope so. Okay. I mean, sometimes. And sometimes it's Lindsay who's really insistent. Like a song like, you know, Find It Hard to Say is a very old song that I was reluctant to release because I thought it was too, maybe, romantic or too sweet. But I think she was right about it because I found, like, as I've become dad, I'm much more open to my sweet side. And, you know, I want that. I choose that, you know. I choose to be that kind of person, that kind of guy. And well, I don't want to sort of resist saying something because it's not cool or something. So my definition of myself has definitely changed. I've gone into that next chapter, maybe. Some people will probably perceive that as something that they can't relate to. Just as I, in my life, have not been able to relate to certain Stevie Wonder tracks, I've thought, no, that's not for me right now. Maybe it's a bit too romantic or something. I couldn't relate to it. So that's the thing, isn't it? some things in life, they're not for you.
You have to be in a certain stage of your life. Or
then maybe it's like foods. When I was given mushrooms as a kid, there's no way I would ever have eaten them. But now they're one of my favorites. So there's like these things, right?
And then, well, you mentioned the sweetness and love, but there's also maybe a little bit of a sense of angst in some of the songs.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
So where does this come from? Because you have a loving family, I think things are going well for you.
Yeah, but it's naive to imagine that every day is like a Disney cartoon, you know. we have a lot of stress, and a lot of the lyrics were written by my wife actually, and a lot of the angstier songs too. So it's almost like a challenge for me to sing words that are clearly about me and portray events that are like maybe I'm not so proud of. You know, things I've done, being like a bit shit, and like I have to face her like response to that behavior, and sort of I can deal with it by ignoring it and never talking about it, or I can maybe deal with it by like, you know, making art about it and like venting it,
Right.
and maybe somehow healing it that way.
Was there then one track that kind of where your wife wrote some lyrics and it was a little bit confronting for you?
I mean, you know, a song like In Love and Alone, she's basically saying she's really like saddened by our existence, you know, and like it was written a long time ago, not that long ago, but some time ago, and I feel like, yeah, there's a huge sadness to that sentiment, and like it doesn't make me proud, but at the same time, I'm glad she said that to me, and that's our relationship. That's the nature of it. She can tell me like genuinely that I've really hurt her feelings. I've hurt her. And she doesn't try to pretend everything is okay.
Right.
So it's part of an honest relationship, and I've learned to be more honest since I've been with her. And it's a hard, slow process to me. I was a very secretive person, I realised, and I was a kind of a liar in a lot of ways because I felt the secrets were important. To hide things that were maybe shameful or something. So like the process of opening up has been, sometimes I've resisted it. You know, it's a life thing. It's being with a life partner and like facing what that really means, you know.